Alrighty, well, hello everybody. I am Josh Barnard. I am from Coffee County and I'm a pre-vet major. My AgInnovation idea, I didn't really invent something new. I didn't really come up with a new machinery or technology, but I tried to start a revolution in the agricultural industry. What I did was I came up with a TV show, and it's not like a YouTube video or a social media post that you have to find and search for. It's more of a open outlet through primetime TV itself to really explain exactly what's going on in agriculture. In my video, I featured a mom coming back from the grocery store who was really upset and didn't really understand what to feed her children and what to put in their mouth. And so I really want to get out to the forefront, explain the myths, bust these myths that surround agriculture, and to get people and consumers interested in agriculture. My end goal is to make the consumer an agriculturalist. And I mean that by making the consumer completely understand the ins and outs of agriculture and make well and good shopping and consuming choices. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. And thank you again for letting me be here.
Thanks, Josh. We'll start with Kent.
TV shows, wow, something else I know nothing about. Revenue, what's your revenue model going to be for the TV show?
Okay, so revenue wise, I'm thinking like most TV shows, commercials will have, and that's another thing. I really want to push that forward through the commercials, agricultural innovation, and make sure that new machineries and things are out there, donations from people. I really want this to not necessarily be a big money-making thing, but a idea and a revolution of thought for the agricultural industry is more of my thought process.
Got it. I have just kind of a general comment. Is it appropriate to say that now?
Go ahead, make it quick.
Okay. Just in the context of these pitches, there was a nonprofit, I guess Madison's idea. Not-for-profits have a particular revenue model. You have to get contributions in addition to your subscriptions. That you typically aren't going to find much revenue from selling products. You're not going to get a whole lot of investors either, because not-for-profits have kind of restrictions on returning investors. Same with a TV show. You know, your advertisers, if that's the route you're going to go, they're going to have some sort of return on their investment for advertising with you, sales of their products, that sort of thing. Just kind of a general observation that it's not a bad thing to say you want to make money, because that's how you're going to attract investors, at least on the for-profit side.
Mm-hmm. Good comments. Go ahead, Jesse.
So people have a really short attention span right now. I mean, it's just a product of technology, right? So how are you going to get people, moms, anyone to sit down and watch a TV show about something that they're so far removed from? And why TV and not a docu-series or short series on a streaming service?
Right. So my idea there, and especially my generation and a lot of other generations, it's not necessarily that they want to believe something different. They want to know exactly what's going on with what they're putting in their kids' mouth. And they really, really want to be informed about this. And so I want this to be a TV show, not necessarily a docu-series, because I want it to be interesting. I want it to engage. I want it to become a family TV show where you set your kids down and everybody sits down on the couch and watches this. I want it to be interesting. I don't want it to necessarily be boring. I want you to be able to set a 5-year-old down and let them also learn about what goes on a farm. I was an national extemporaneous speaking candidate for my senior year of high school. And that was one of my big touching points. Was a lot of this, we need to go through kids, and we need to really explain to the children, because they're the next generation. And if we can do that and start with families, even younger families, we can move up the chain through the years and really explain the ins and outs of agriculture and make sure that there are no stigmas or bad tastes in the mouths of people just because they read labels in the grocery store. That's really my biggest thing there.
Pete?
Yeah, I like your term at the beginning about revolution. How, when nobody really knows the answers that you're trying to put forward, we're in probably the biggest set of changes within agriculture that we've had since the beginning of sort of the biotech hybridization, World War II era. Like, how do you think about content from a perspective of, the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world have no idea where agriculture is going because of just the consumers and all the stuff you sort of touched on in your video. How do you think about, like, you would really have to be a force bigger than Farm Journal and RFD TV and like the other incumbents in order to really like talk, and the local food incumbents? There's a two totally different camp. How do you define something new with what you're trying to do that takes the best of all those pieces? And I'm not asking my question well. It's not just, oh, GMOs are great, that's awesome. And it's not just organics great, that's awesome. It's a totally different thing, the future of agriculture, that takes the little bits of pieces from all these different things. So how do you think about that?
Right. So I completely understand what you're asking. And within extemporaneous changing and explaining things, there is a lot of middle ground that we can explain. I'm not asking these consumers become the heads and the CEOs of this. I'm just asking them to understand, and when they're walking to the grocery store, what's going on. And so middle ground is the best. And we can have, people from both sides of the argument come in. I want them to be able to choose for themselves, because right now, as agriculture is changing and evolving, I feel like a lot of times they see one side while the other side is busy doing something. And we also see a lot of things from activist groups that are completely anti-agriculture or completely one part anti-agriculture. And a lot of times when people hear GMO, they really think UFO, because they don't know what it is, and they don't really understand that we today have the safest and most secure food supply ever. And that 1% of the population feeds, clothes, and shelters 100% of the population. And so it's a big deal, and I really want that 1% to be heard and completely understood throughout this TV show. I understand exactly what you're saying. That's been something on my mind throughout this whole process, and that'd be one thing that I would love to have some advising and some help thinking through. But I think we can do it. I think that I don't want to be RFD TV. Because RFD TV is wonderful. I enjoy watching RFD TV, but I'm an agriculturalist. Most people don't care what the corn prices are per bushel today, or watching an auction. And so I want to really inform.
All right, that is time, Josh.
Michael,